between Israel and Palestinians has been rising as newly re-elected Benjamin Netanyahu tries to put together a government. Netanyahu's Likud party has reached an agreement to offer far-right leader Ben-Gvir the role of national security minister. Netanyahu's alliance with Gvir's Jewish Power Party is aimed at helping him form a government. Let's bring in Bernard Smith in Ramallah in just a moment. And Alan Fisher is joining us from occupied East Jerusalem. Alan, to you first. And how worrying is the possible appointment of Ben-Gvir for Palestinians to this new role? And what does it mean for Palestinians and Israelis going forward?
Well, there certainly would be some concern, and certainly since the election it's looked clear that Itamar Ben-Gvir would be given a senior position in the government. He wanted to be the Interior Security Minister. It looks as if that is the position that he will get, with some added roles as well, including overseeing the border police, essentially the police force that looks after the entrances into the occupied West Bank. There are certainly those in the Palestinian community who will be concerned, but there are those in the international community who are concerned too. The Americans, for example, are deeply concerned that Itamar Ben-Gvir, the leader of Jewish Power, will be given such a significant role. Now, the Americans say they'll work with whoever is duly elected and appointed by the Israeli government, but they have concerns that they will have to deal with a man who has been convicted for inciting violence, for hate speech in the past, and has connections to a group that had been recognised by the Americans as a terror group, but also by the Israelis as a terror group, and he will take a significant position. There's certainly a great deal of upset here over the last few days because of the reaction that we've seen from the Israeli security forces after the bombing on Wednesday. And we know that in the area of Abu Ghosh, for example, just 13 kilometres from the centre of Jerusalem in West Jerusalem, there was an attack overnight. A number of cars were burnt out and there was racist graffiti left nearby, including one that said, "Stop with the terrorist attacks." That shows just how things have become here over the last month or so, but particularly in the last few days. There are rolling checkpoints all around the city. We can see that reflected in the numbers that are attending at the mosque here in the centre of Jerusalem. The numbers down significantly. We spoke to one group who come from Bethlehem, and they said it'd taken them 2 hours to drive from Bethlehem into the centre of Jerusalem, a journey that would normally take somewhere in the region of 15 to 20 minutes at most. But it's a sign, these rolling checkpoints, that the Israelis, the Israeli army, are concerned, but that concern is reflected right across the board in the wider community here in Jerusalem.
Okay, thank you so much, Alan Fisher, reporting from occupied East Jerusalem. Let's now bring in Bernard Smith. He's joining us from the occupied West Bank in Ramallah in particular. So, Bernard, just talk to us about the tensions that have been rising on the ground, because this is one of the deadliest years for Palestinians. Nearly 150 killed by Israeli forces this year alone.
It's the deadliest year in the occupied West Bank for 16 years. And while tensions are rising with Israel, have been rising all year since well before the Israeli election, it's actually very hard, if Palestinians wanted to get together in large groups and protest for those tensions, if you like, to expand. This is because Israel has so successfully divided up the occupied West Bank, created cantons. It's just very hard for Palestinians to physically move between areas. Compared to the second intifada, the second uprising, there's now a separation wall, again making it harder for Palestinians to move around. So very difficult practically to protest, and politically the Palestinians have got their own internal political crisis. Increasing, deepening divisions between Fatah, that runs the occupied West Bank, and Hamas, that runs Gaza. No elections for 16 years, and more than 80% of Palestinians don't have any faith in their political leadership. That's either in under Hamas in Gaza or under Fatah and the Palestinian Authority here in the occupied West Bank. So there's no political leadership, nobody leading the Palestinians effectively, no one for them to look to for political leadership. And as Alan referred to, it's only going to get worse for the Palestinians, with Itamar Ben-Gvir likely to be in charge of the policing of the occupied West Bank. He's already promised a more permissive environment for Israeli soldiers and police when involved in confrontations with Palestinians.
Thank you so much, Bernard Smith, reporting from Ramallah in the occupied West Bank.